The gun trembled in her hands as Sarah Mitchell pressed it against the intruder's chest, her two daughters screaming behind her. This wasn't supposed to happen, not to a CEO, not to a mother who'd built an empire from nothing. The man before her wasn't flinching, wasn't afraid. His hollow eyes held something worse than violence, resignation. "Go ahead," he whispered, voice thick with bourbon and broken dreams. "You'd be doing me a favor." Her finger froze on the trigger. This wasn't a killer. This was a man already dead inside, and somehow, impossibly, that terrified her more. Comment your city below so I can see how far my story has traveled across America. The Mercedes had been upside down in the ravine for 3 minutes before Sarah Mitchell's brain finally caught up with her body. Her ears rang, her vision swam. Blood whose blood dripped onto the cracked windshield above her head. No below her head. Everything was inverted. "Mom?" Emma's voice cut through the ringing, 12 years old and already too brave for her own good. "Mom, Lucy's not talking." That pierced the fog. Sarah twisted in her seatbelt, ignoring the screaming pain in her ribs. Lucy, her baby 8 years old with her father's dimples and her mother's stubborn chin, hung limp in her booster seat. "Lucy, Lucy, honey, open your eyes." Sarah's hands fumbled with her own seatbelt, then Lucy's. The little girl's eyes fluttered. Alive. Thank God, alive. "My arm hurts," Lucy whimpered. "I know, baby. I know. We're going to fix it." Sarah finally got her seatbelt undone and fell onto the roof of the car with a grunt. Her Prada suit was ruined. Blood on the collar. Her phone. Where was her phone? She patted the roof wildly until her fingers closed around it. The screen was spiderwebbed with cracks, but it lit up. No signal. Of course no signal. They were in the middle of nowhere, 20 miles outside Colorado Springs, because she'd been running. Running from Victor Reeves. The name sent ice through her veins, even now, trapped in a wrecked car with her babies. Victor Reeves, who'd smiled across the conference table last week and offered her $500 million for Mitchell Technologies. Victor Reeves, who'd said all the right things about synergy and growth and maintaining her company's integrity. Victor Reeves, whose background check had come back so clean, it squeaked. Too clean. She'd done what any paranoid CEO would do, hired a private investigator. What David Huang had found made her blood run cold. Shell corporations, defense contract fraud, a paper trail leading straight to Beijing. Victor Reeves didn't want her company. He wanted her Department of Defense security clearances. Wanted access to classified military communication systems. Wanted to steal American secrets and sell them to the highest bidder. She'd said no, obviously. Laughed him out of her office. That was Monday. Tuesday, someone tried to grab Emma from school. The security guard had stopped him, thank God, but Sarah had seen the footage. Professional. Military trained, not some random kidnapper. Wednesday. David Huang sent her a message. "They're tracking your car. Get out. Now." She'd pulled both girls from school, withdrawn $10,000 in cash and run. Drove aimlessly, trying to think, trying to figure out what to do. She'd called her lawyer, her head of security, even her ex-husband Derek, useless as always, and gotten the same advice: go to the police, go to the FBI, go public. But before she could do any of that, a black SUV had forced her off Highway 24, sent her Mercedes sailing over the guardrail and down into this ravine. "Mom, I hear something." Emma's voice was tight with fear. Sarah heard it too. An engine, doors slamming. Men's voices, calm and businesslike, echoing down from the road above. "There. Vehicle down there. Move." Sarah's heart stopped. They'd found them. Of course they'd found them. She'd been stupid to think she could outrun Victor Reeves's people. "Girls, listen to me." She kept her voice steady, grateful for a decade of board meetings where she'd learned to project confidence she didn't feel. "We're getting out of this car and we're going to climb up the other side of this ravine away from the road. Can you do that?" "My arm," Lucy started. "I know, baby. I'll help you." Emma, you're going to lead us. You're the strongest. You can do this. She got them out through the shattered driver's side window. Glass crunched under her heels. Stupid heels. Why hadn't she changed into sneakers, and the cold February air hit her like a slap. It was snowing. Light flakes drifting down, already starting to accumulate. Behind them, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. They're not in the vehicle. Fan out. They can't have gone far. Reeves wants them alive. Sarah grabbed Lucy's good hand and pushed Emma ahead. Run. Quietly. Now. They scrambled through brush and snow. Lucy sobbing silently. Emma's breathing harsh with effort. Sarah's ribs screamed with every step. Her heels caught on roots on rocks. She kicked them off and kept going, her stockinged feet instantly going numb. The voices fell behind. The flashlights didn't reach this far into the trees, but the snow was getting heavier, and Sarah had no idea where they were going. Just away. Just anywhere but there. They ran for what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes. Lucy was flagging, her little legs giving out. Sarah picked her up, gasping at the pain in her ribs, and kept going. Emma led the way, her phone's flashlight their only guide. Then Emma stopped so suddenly, Sarah almost crashed into her. What? Look! Emma pointed. Through the trees, maybe a quarter-mile ahead, lights. A cabin. Isolated, probably vacation property, but right now it looked like salvation. Someone's home, Emma whispered. I can see smoke from the chimney. Sarah's first instinct was relief. Then caution crept in. What if whoever lived there was working with Reeves? What if she was leading her daughters into another trap? But Lucy was shivering violently in her arms. Emma's lips were turning blue. Sarah herself couldn't feel her feet anymore. They needed shelter. They needed help. They needed to roll the dice and hope whoever answered that door was one of the good guys. Okay, she said. Okay, we knock. They stumbled through the snow toward the cabin. As they got closer, Sarah could make out details, small but well-maintained smoke curling from a stone chimney, a pickup truck parked to one side. A single light burned in the front window. She climbed the porch steps, her numb feet barely registering the wood beneath them, and raised her fist to knock. Then she heard it. Through the door. A voice. Male. Rough. Talking to himself. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. A metallic click. The sound of a gun being cocked. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She'd led her daughters to someone who was about to blow his brains out. But Lucy was dying of hypothermia in her arms. Emma was swaying on her feet. They were out of options. Sarah pounded on the door, desperate, frantic. Please, is anyone there? We need help. Silence. Endless, terrible silence. Then footsteps. Heavy. Slow. The door swung open. The man who stood there was a wreck. Unshaven eyes, bloodshot and haunted, reeking of alcohol. Tall, broad-shouldered, probably mid-30s, wearing a Marine Corps t-shirt and sweatpants. He stared at them like they were ghosts. Behind him, Sarah could see into the cabin. Small, sparse. And on the table in clear view, a handgun and a letter. The man followed her gaze to the gun, then looked back at them. Something flickered in his eyes. Not quite hope. Not quite life. But something. Get in, he said, his voice rough. Now. They stumbled inside. The warmth hit Sarah like a wave, and suddenly her legs wouldn't hold her. She sank onto the couch, still holding Lucy, Emma collapsing beside them. The man shut the door and locked it. Scanned the darkness outside before turning back to them. Who's following you? He asked. Sarah blinked at him. What? You didn't end up at my door by accident in the middle of the night in a snowstorm, wearing a business suit and heels. Someone's chasing you. Who? His eyes were clearer, now focused. Sarah saw intelligence there and training. Military bearing despite the drunk dishevelment. Bad men, Lucy whimpered. They crashed our car. The man's jaw tightened. He grabbed a blanket from the back of the couch and wrapped it around the three of them. "How many?" he asked Sarah. "I don't know, at least 2 at the crash site, maybe more." "Armed?" Yes, I think so." He nodded, processing, walked to the window and peered out through the curtains. "They'll find your car's tracks leading here. We've got maybe 30 minutes. "Who are you?" Sarah asked. "Jake Rivers, Sergeant USMC, retired." He turned to face them. "And I was about to eat a bullet when you knocked on my door, so you'll excuse me if I'm not at my best." The brutal honesty hit Sarah like a punch. Emma gasped. Lucy buried her face in Sarah's shoulder. Jake looked at the gun on the table, then back at them. "But I guess that's not happening tonight. So you want to tell me who's trying to kill you, or should I just start loading magazines and figure it out as we go?" Sarah made a decision. She'd built a $100 million company on her ability to read people, and something in this broken man's eyes told her he was worth the gamble. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm CEO of Mitchell Technologies. We develop secure communication systems for the Department of Defense. A man named Victor Reeves is trying to force me to give him access to classified information. When I refused, he came after my daughters." Jake's eyes sharpened. "Reeves, Victor Reeves. You know him. Heard the name, contract world, mercenary connections, bad news." He was moving now, pulling on boots, grabbing a rifle from a closet. "Your car went off the road on 24. "Yes." "They'll be here in 20 minutes, not 30. This cabin's the only structure within 5 miles. He checked the rifle's magazine chambered around. "You got anyone you can call?" "My phone's broken. Landline's out. Storm took it down yesterday." Jake looked at her daughters, his expression softening slightly. "How old are they?" 8 and 12. "Old enough to follow instructions?" "Yes." Emma said, her voice steady despite her fear. Jake knelt in front of them. "There's a bathroom down that hall. If things go bad, I need you both to lock yourselves in there. There's a vent in the ceiling. It leads to a crawl space. If someone breaks in and it's not me or your mom, you climb up there and you hide. You don't come out until you hear police or your mom's voice. Can you do that?" Lucy was crying again. Emma put her arm around her sister. "We can do it," Emma said. Jake nodded, stood, looked at Sarah. "What about you? You know how to shoot." Sarah shook her head. "Then stay out of my way and keep your head down." He started moving furniture, creating barricades. "They come through that door, they're looking for you alive. That means they'll try not to kill everyone. Use that. Make them think twice." "Why are you helping us?" Sarah asked. "You don't know us. You were about to—" She glanced at her daughters and didn't finish. Jake paused, his hands on a heavy bookshelf, looked at the gun on the table again. "Lady, I got no idea. Maybe because you knocked. Maybe because I'm tired of failing people. Maybe because those girls don't deserve to die because their mom made the right choice and some asshole didn't like it." He resumed moving the bookshelf. "Or maybe I'm just drunk and making bad decisions. Either way, we're committed now." Sarah stood, ignoring her protesting ribs, and helped him push the bookshelf into position. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me until we're alive on the other side of this." Emma's voice cut through the cabin. "I see lights, headlights, coming up the road." Jake crossed to the window in 3 strides, looked out, swore softly. 2 vehicles, SUVs, professional spacing." He turned to Sarah. "Get your girls in that bathroom. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Jake. Now." Sarah grabbed her daughters and ran for the bathroom. As she was closing the door, she looked back. Jake Rivers stood in the center of his cabin, rifle in hand, facing the door. A man who'd been ready to die 10 minutes ago, now preparing to kill to protect 3 strangers. She locked the door. lifted Lucy onto the toilet so she could reach the vent. Emma was already climbing up. Outside, engines stopped. Doors opened and closed. Men's voices muffled, but clear enough. Thermal shows 4 bodies. 3 small, 1 adult male. Must be the woman and kids, plus whoever lives here. Reeves wants them alive. Kill the guy if you have to. Sarah's hands tightened on Lucy's waist as she boosted her daughter into the vent. Emma pulled her up. "Mom, come on," Emma whispered. "I'm too big, baby. I won't fit. But you two will. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. Mom, I love you. Both of you. So much." She closed the vent cover just as the first shot rang out. Through the bathroom door, she heard Jake's voice clear and steady. "First one through that door dies." Then the world exploded into gunfire. The first bullet splintered the door frame inches from Jake's head. He didn't flinch. Muscle memory from Kandahar kicked in, and suddenly he wasn't a drunk failure anymore. He was Sergeant Rivers, and these bastards had just made a tactical error. They'd announced themselves. Jake dropped low and fired 3 rounds through the door at knee height. Someone outside screamed. Good. Now they knew this wasn't going to be easy. Man down, man down. He's armed. Suppressing fire. Get him away from that door. The door exploded inward under a hail of bullets. Jake rolled behind the overturned bookshelf as rounds chewed through his furniture. Books and splinters filled the air. His coffee table disintegrated. The lamp his ex-wife Rebecca had bought him shattered. He'd hated that lamp anyway. The shooting stopped. Tactical pause. They were repositioning. Jake used the moment to check his rifle. 15 rounds left in this magazine. 2 more magazines in his vest. 45 rounds total against however many men Reeves had sent. Not great odds. "Rivers," a voice called from outside. Professional. Calm. "This doesn't concern you. Send out Sarah Mitchell and her daughters, and you walk away." Jake laughed, actually laughed. "Walk away, friend. I was about to blow my brains out when they showed up. You think I give a damn about walking away?" Silence. He'd thrown them off their script. "Then you're going to die for nothing, for 3 people you don't even know." "Yeah, well, I was dying for nothing anyway. At least this way I take some of you assholes with me." More silence. Jake heard them talking too low to make out words. They were reassessing. Good. Keep them off balance. The bathroom door cracked open. Sarah's face appeared pale, but determined. "Get back in there," Jake hissed. "The girls are in the crawl space. I can help." "You can die, that's what you can do. Get back." A window exploded. Jake spun and fired at the shape climbing through, hit him in the shoulder. The man fell back out with a curse. 2 entry points now, Jake shouted at Sarah. "Get down." But Sarah didn't get down. She grabbed the handgun from Jake's table, the one he'd been planning to use on himself, and took cover behind the kitchen counter. "I said I don't know how to shoot," she said, her voice shaking, but her hands steady on the weapon. "I didn't say I'd never shot before. My father taught me." Jake wanted to argue, but another window shattered. He fired twice, heard someone grunt in pain. "How many rounds in that pistol?" he called. "Magazine says 15. "Make them count. They want you alive. Remember, use that. They'll hesitate. You don't." The front door burst open. A man in tactical gear rolled through, assault rifle up. Jake fired, but the man's body armor caught it. The man fired back. Jake felt something hot tear across his left arm. Blood bloomed on his sleeve. Sarah fired 3 times from the kitchen. Her first shot went wide. Second hit the man's rifle, knocking it from his hands. Third caught him in the thigh, unprotected by armor. He went down, screaming. "Nice shooting," Jake yelled. "I'm going to throw up," Sarah yelled back. "Do it later." 2 more men came through the door. Jake took one in the chest. Center mass dropped him instantly. The second dove behind Jake's overturned couch and returned fire. Bullets stitched across the wall behind Jake's head. This was it. This was Kandahar all over again. Outnumbered. outgunned. People depending on him not to screw up, not to freeze, not to fail like he'd failed Marcus. Jake's hands started shaking. The rifle felt wrong, heavy. His breathing got shallow. No, no, not now, not here. Jake! Sarah's voice cut through the panic. On your left. He turned. A man was coming through the window. Jake fired on instinct. The man dropped. Sarah had just saved his life. A CEO who'd probably never been in a fight in her life had just kept him from getting killed because he'd been too busy having a PTSD flashback to watch his own flank. Get it together, Marines. People are counting on you. Marcus's voice in his head, clear as day, like his old platoon leader was standing right there. Jake's hands steadied. His breathing evened out. The cabin came back into focus. How many down? He called. I count 3 outside, 2 inside, Sarah answered. How many more? No idea. But they're getting smarter. Next time they won't come through doors and windows. They'll... An explosion rocked the cabin. The back wall blew inward in a shower of splinters and insulation. Flashbang. Jake's brain registered. His ears rang. His vision went white. Through the ringing he heard boots on wood, heard Sarah scream, heard his own voice distant shouting something. His vision cleared in time to see a man grabbing Sarah, trying to drag her toward the hole in the wall. Another man was running for the bathroom, going for the girls. Jake's rifle was empty. He dropped it, pulled his pistol, fired twice. The man going for the bathroom dropped. Jake pivoted. The man holding Sarah had a gun to her head. Drop it, the man yelled. Drop it now or she dies. Jake's hand didn't waver. Perfect sight picture, center mass. But Sarah was in the way. One wrong move and he'd kill her instead. Jake. Sarah said, her voice remarkably calm, despite the gun at her temple. My daughters are in that bathroom. Don't let them take my daughters. The man yanked her harder. I said drop it. Jake met Sarah's eyes. Saw the resignation there. The same resignation that had been in his own eyes an hour ago when he'd put that gun to his own head. She was telling him to let her die, to save Emma and Lucy. Not happening. You're making a mistake, Jake said to the man. I don't think so. Gun. Down. Now. Your boss wants her alive, right? That's what you said. She's valuable. Those kids are just leverage. You kill her, you get nothing. Reeves kills you for failing. The man's eyes flickered. Uncertainty. But you hurt those kids, Jake continued. And Reeves still gets what he wants. Dead kids just make their mom more cooperative. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to take your gun off her head. You're going to walk out of here, and maybe I let you live. You're bluffing. Try me. They stared at each other. Seconds stretched. Jake's arm didn't waver. His finger was feather light on the trigger. One shot. That's all he'd get. Miss and Sarah died. Don't miss. The man's radio crackled. Alpha 4 status. The momentary distraction was all Jake needed. He fired. The bullet caught the man in the shoulder. The man's gun went off, but his aim had shifted. The bullet went wide. Sarah dropped, rolled away. Jake fired twice more. The man went down. Silence fell over the cabin. Jake's ears rang. His arm throbbed where he'd been grazed. His hands started shaking again now that the immediate threat was over. Sarah, he called. Alive. She crawled out from behind the destroyed couch. Her suit was covered in plaster dust and blood, not hers, Jake hoped. The girls. In the crawl space, where they're staying. Jake moved to the bathroom door, knocked. Emma, Lucy, you okay in there? We're okay, Emma's voice muffled. Is Mom okay? Your mom's a badass, Jake said. Stay put, not over yet. He wasn't wrong. Outside, an engine started. Tires spun in snow. One of the vehicles was leaving. Running. Smart. They'd lost too many men. This wasn't worth it anymore. But the other vehicle's engine stayed quiet. Someone was still out there. Jake peered through the hole in his wall, saw a figure in the trees. Just one, holding something. His blood ran cold. "Grenade!" he screamed. "Get down!" He grabbed Sarah and threw them both behind the overturned bookshelf as something arced through the air and landed in the center of the cabin. But it wasn't a grenade. It was a phone, a satellite phone. It hit the floor and slid to a stop 3 feet from Jake's face. It rang. Jake stared at it. Sarah stared at it. Neither moved. It rang again. "Answer it," Sarah whispered. "It's him. It's Reeves." Jake picked up the phone, put it on speaker. "Sergeant Rivers." The voice was smooth, educated, faintly amused. "You're full of surprises." "Reeves. I've lost 6 men tonight. Good men, expensive men. You've cost me approximately $2 million in personnel and equipment." A pause. "I'm impressed." "Cry me a river. What do you want?" "A negotiation. You've proven you can protect Mrs. Mitchell and her daughters in the short term. But can you protect them tomorrow? Next week? Next month? I have unlimited resources." "Sergeant, you have what's left of a bottle of Jack Daniels and survivor's guilt." Jake's jaw clenched. "Get to the point." "The point is you're fighting the wrong battle. This isn't your war. You're a washed-up Marine with PTSD and a bankruptcy notice. Mrs. Mitchell is a billionaire who made poor business decisions. Her daughters are collateral damage. Why die for them? Because someone knocked on my door and I opened it." Poetic. Stupid, but poetic. Reeves sighed. "I'll make this simple. Kill Sarah Mitchell. Make it look like she died in the firefight. Leave the girls alive. I'm not a monster. Do this and I'll pay you $5 million. Enough to get your son back. Enough to rebuild your life. All you have to do is pull one trigger." The cabin went silent. Sarah's face drained of color. She looked at Jake, at the gun in his hand, at the phone, waiting to see what he'd choose. Jake thought about Cody, about his son living in Oregon with Rebecca, growing up without a father, because Jake had been too broken to keep his life together. $5 million would fix everything, would give him back his boy, would make him whole again. All he had to do was kill one person. He looked at Sarah. At this woman who'd stumbled into his cabin an hour ago with her terrified daughters. This woman who'd just watched him nearly have a panic attack in the middle of a firefight and hadn't judged him for it. Who'd picked up a gun and fought beside him despite being scared out of her mind. This woman who'd knocked on his door at the exact moment he'd been about to eat a bullet. Who'd given him a reason, the first reason in 2 years, to keep breathing. He raised the gun. Sarah closed her eyes. Jake pointed the gun at the phone and fired 3 times. The satellite phone exploded into plastic fragments and circuit boards. "Guess that's my answer," he said to the silence. Sarah's eyes snapped open. "Jake, save it. I didn't just turn down $5 million so you could thank me. I did it because I'm tired of being the guy who makes the wrong choice when it matters." He moved to the window. The last vehicle was pulling away. "They're gone. For now." "They'll be back." "Yeah, with more men, better weapons. Probably in the next few hours." Jake turned to face her. "So we need a plan that isn't, hope the drunk Marine shoots straight." Sarah stood, wiped plaster dust from her face. When she spoke, her voice had changed. Not scared anymore. Angry. "You said you don't have a landline. What about radio CB ham radio?" "Anything." "Had a CB. My grandfather's. Haven't used it in years. Might not even work." "Where is it?" "Crawl space. Above the bathroom." "Why?" Jake stopped. Looked at the bathroom. At the vent where Emma and Lucy were hiding. "The girls. Emma's smart. She can figure out a radio." Sarah was already moving toward the bathroom. "If we can call for help, get police or Forest Service or anyone, they'll still be 20 minutes out. Reeves's people could be back in 10. Then we make them think we're not here anymore. We make them think we ran." Jake considered this. Take my truck. Drive it half a mile down the road. Abandon it. Make tracks leading away into the woods. They'll follow the truck, waste time searching. While we hide here. And while Emma tries to get that radio working. Jake grabbed his rifle, started reloading. It's not much of a plan. It's better than waiting to die. Sarah opened the bathroom door. Emma and Lucy were still in the vent, their faces pale in the darkness above. "Girls, you can come down now," Sarah said. "It's safe. For a little while." Emma helped Lucy down. The little girl's arm was swelling where she'd hurt it in the crash. She was shivering despite the blanket wrapped around her. "Mommy, I'm cold," Lucy whimpered. "I know, baby, I know." Sarah held her close. "Emma, honey, I need you to do something very brave. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, her young face serious. "See that vent? There's a crawl space up there. Mr. Jake says there's an old radio somewhere in there. We need to find it and make it work. Can you look for it? Like a treasure hunt. Exactly like a treasure hunt." Emma's eyes lit up. Fear was still there, but also excitement. Kids were resilient like that. Turn survival into a game, and they'd rise to the occasion. "I'll help," Lucy said despite her injured arm. "No, baby, you stay with me. Your arm needs rest." Jake pulled out his keys, handed them to Sarah. "Truck's a 2015 Ford F-150, blue. Keys go in the ignition, obviously. Drive it half a mile south. There's a turnoff for a hiking trail. Leave it there. Cover your tracks as best you can on the way back." "You're not coming." "Someone needs to stay with the girls, and someone needs to cover you in case they come back early." He checked his rifle. "I'll watch from here. You get in trouble, I'll see it." Sarah took the keys, looked at her daughters, at Jake. "If something happens to me, nothing's going to happen to you. If something happens to me," she repeated firmly, "you get my girls somewhere safe, somewhere Reeves can't reach them. Promise me." Jake met her eyes, saw the steel there, the mother who would die before letting anything hurt her children. "I promise." Sarah kissed Emma's forehead, then Lucy's. Then she was gone, slipping out into the snow. Jake watched from the window, watched her get in his truck, watched the headlights come on, then switch off. Smart. She was doing this dark. The engine started. The truck rolled down the driveway and disappeared into the trees. Emma was already in the vent, flashlight from her phone illuminating the crawl space. "I see something." "A box." "Be careful," Jake called. "There's nails up there." "I got it." Emma wrestled a wooden crate to the vent opening. Dust showered down. Inside the crate, his grandfather's old CB radio. Dusty. Probably broken. But maybe, just maybe, their lifeline. Lucy sat on the toilet watching Jake with wide eyes. "Are the bad men coming back?" Jake didn't lie to her. "Probably." "Are you going to shoot them again?" "If I have to." "Good." Lucy's little jaw set in a way that reminded him painfully of Cody. "They're mean. They hurt my mom, and they hurt you, and they crashed our car." "Yeah, they're pretty mean." "My dad's mean too. He left us. Mommy cries sometimes when she thinks we're asleep." Jake didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to explain to an 8-year-old that sometimes people left not because they wanted to, but because they were too broken to stay. Emma climbed down with the radio, plugged it in. Nothing happened. "Try the battery compartment," Jake suggested. "Might be corroded." Emma opened it. "Yuck. It's all gross and green." "That's corrosion. Clean it off. Use your shirt." While Emma worked on the radio, Jake kept watch. 5 minutes since Sarah left. 10. 15. No sign of her. No sign of Reeves's men either. Just snow and darkness, and the terrible waiting. His arm throbbed where he'd been grazed. His ears still rang from the flashbang. His hands had finally stopped shaking, but he could feel the adrenaline crash coming. Could feel the weight of what he'd just done settling on his shoulders. He'd killed men tonight, at least 2, maybe 3. They'd been trying to kill him, trying to take Sarah and her girls, but they were still dead because of him. You did what you had to do, Marcus's voice said in his head. You protected the weak. You stood your ground. That's what Marines do. But I froze, Jake thought. During the firefight, I froze up, just like in Kandahar. And Sarah had your back, Marcus replied. Just like I always had your back. That's what brothers do. That's what family does. Mr. Jake. Lucy's voice broke through his thoughts. Are you okay? You look sad. Jake wiped his eyes, didn't realize he'd been crying. I'm okay, sweetheart. Do you have kids? Yeah, a son. Cody. He's 10. Where is he? With his mom, far away. Do you miss him? Jake's throat tightened. Every day. My dad doesn't miss us. He has a new family now, new kids, better kids. There's no such thing as better kids. You and Emma are perfect exactly how you are. Lucy smiled. Small, sad, but real. Mommy says that too. Emma suddenly squealed. It works. The radio works. Static filled the cabin. Emma adjusted the dial. More static. Then voices. Faint. Distant. Truck drivers on the highway, maybe. What's the emergency frequency? Emma asked. Channel 9, Jake said. But keep it low. If Reeves's people have scanners, they'll hear. Emma switched to Channel 9. Keyed the mic. Hello. Can anyone hear me? This is Emma Mitchell. We need help. Please, is anyone listening? Static. Emma tried again. This is Emma Mitchell. We're at... She looked at Jake. He rattled off the coordinates. Emma repeated them. Please. Bad men are trying to hurt us. We need police. Please help. More static. Then faint a response. This is Colorado State Patrol Dispatch. We're receiving you, Emma. Can you repeat those coordinates? Emma's hands shook as she repeated the coordinates. Tears ran down her face. Please hurry. They crashed our car and they have guns and Mr. Jake is hurt and... Emma, slow down. Where are your parents? My mom's hiding our truck. My dad left us. Mr. Jake is here. He's protecting us. Is Mr. Jake an adult? Yes. He's a Marine. He shot the bad men. A pause. Emma, we're sending units now. It's going to take about 20 minutes. Can you stay safe for 20 minutes? I think so. Mr. Jake has a gun. Okay. I need you to stay on this channel. Don't hang up. Talk to me so I know you're okay. Emma looked at Jake with hope in her eyes. 20 minutes. They just had to survive 20 minutes. The headlights appeared in the driveway. Jake's stomach dropped. Too soon. Sarah shouldn't be back yet. Unless that wasn't Sarah. Emma, get in the crawl space. Now. Take Lucy. Take the radio. Don't stop talking to that dispatcher. But, now. Emma grabbed Lucy and scrambled up into the vent, the radio crackling as she went. Jake heard her whisper to the dispatcher. They're here. The bad men are here. Jake took position behind his barricade. Watched the headlights approach. One vehicle, moving slow, cautious. It stopped 30 yards from the cabin. Doors opened. 4 men got out. No 5. All armed, all moving with professional precision. Jake's heart sank. Reeves had sent reinforcements. Then he noticed something. One of the men was limping. Another had his arm in a sling. These weren't fresh troops. These were the survivors from the first assault back with friends. And they were angry. Rivers, one of them called. We know you're in there. We know the woman took your truck. You're alone now, just you and the girls. Jake didn't respond. Let them think what they wanted. We found your truck abandoned 2 miles south. Track the woman back here. She's bleeding out in the snow right now unless you want to save her. Jake's blood turned to ice. Lying. They had to be lying. Sarah was smart, careful. She wouldn't have. But she'd been injured in the crash, exhausted, scared. She could have made a mistake. Let us in, and we'll get her medical attention. Fight us, and she dies, and then you die, and then we take those girls anyway. You've got 10 seconds. Jake's mind raced. If Sarah was out there hurt, he had to help her. But if this was a trick to get him to open the door, everyone died. What would Marcus do? Marcus would trust his gut, and Jake's gut said they were lying. 10-2, the man shouted. 9-8. Jake stayed silent, steady. If they had Sarah, they'd show her. Use her as leverage. The fact that they weren't meant, they didn't have her. 5-4-3. Still nothing. Your choice? Rivers. The cabin exploded in gunfire. Not at the doors or windows this time. They were shooting through the walls. Hundreds of rounds turning Jake's home into Swiss cheese. Wood splinters filled the air. Bullets whined and ricocheted. Jake pressed himself flat behind the bookshelf, praying it was thick enough. Through the chaos, he heard Lucy scream in the crawl space. Heard Emma trying to comfort her. Heard the dispatcher on the radio. Emma. Emma, what's happening? Emma. The shooting stopped. Jake's ears rang. His entire body shook. He checked himself. No new holes. Lucky. That's a taste, the man shouted. Next time we're throwing grenades. Real ones, send out those girls or we level the place. Jake looked up at the vent, at Emma and Lucy's terrified faces peering down. Lucy was sobbing. Emma held the radio with white knuckles. How far are they? Jake called to Emma. The lady says 10 minutes, Emma called back. 10 minutes. Jake had to hold for 10 more minutes, against 5 armed men who'd just Swiss cheesed his cabin. With almost no ammunition left and 2 terrified children depending on him. The same situation he'd been in Kandahar. The same impossible odds. The same moment where he could freeze and fail like he'd failed Marcus. Or he could fight and maybe, just maybe, buy enough time. Jake chambered his last round, took a deep breath, and made his choice. He was done freezing, done failing, done letting people down when they needed him most. If he died here, he died protecting children, died standing up to evil, died as a Marine. Marcus would understand. Jake stood up from behind his barricade, faced the door, waited. Come on then, he shouted. Let's finish this. The men outside didn't charge. That would have been stupid, and these weren't stupid men. Instead, Jake heard boots crunching in snow spreading out surrounding the cabin. They were going to hit him from every angle at once. Jake's last magazine clicked into place. 15 rounds, 5 men. He'd need to make every shot count, and even then, the math didn't work in his favor. Emma, he called up to the vent, keeping his voice steady. Tell that dispatcher we've got about 3 minutes before things get very loud. Tell her to tell those cops to hurry. She says they're coming as fast as they can. Emma's voice shook. She says we should hide and stay quiet. You do that. I'll be the loud one. Lucy's crying had quieted to whimpers. Jake could hear Emma whispering to her sister, could hear the love and fear in a 12-year-old trying to be brave for her baby sister. It reminded him of the time Cody had fallen off his bike and scraped his knee bloody, how he'd tried so hard not to cry because big boys don't cry, Dad. Jake had told him that was nonsense, that even Marines cried sometimes, that being brave meant feeling scared and doing the right thing anyway. He hoped Cody remembered that. Hoped his son knew his father had tried to be brave at the end. Glass shattered. Not one window, but 3 simultaneously. Flashbangs arced through the openings. Jake dove behind the bookshelf and covered his ears. The world went white and silent. His brain felt like it was rattling in his skull. He couldn't hear, couldn't see, couldn't think. But he could still shoot. Through the ringing in his ears and the spots in his vision, Jake came up firing blind. Saw shapes moving through the smoke, fired at the shapes, heard someone yell, kept firing until the rifle clicked empty. His vision cleared. 2 men down, one clutching his leg, one not moving. Three still up. One of them had Jake dead to rights, rifle aimed at his chest. Jake stared at him, waited for the bullet. It didn't come. The man's head snapped back. He dropped. Jake blinked. What the hell? Another shot. Another man down. The shots were coming from outside, from the woods. The last man standing spun toward the tree line. Sniper! We gotta... He never finished. Another shot. He fell. Silence. Jake crouched behind his barricade, trying to understand what had just happened. Someone had just saved his life. Someone who could shoot. Really shoot. Rivers. A woman's voice. Not Sarah. Deeper. Older. Authority in every syllable. You still alive in there? Barely. Jake called back. Who the hell are you? Sheriff Diane Kowalski. Got a very frantic 911 call from a little girl saying bad men were shooting up a cabin. Figured I'd come introduce myself. Footsteps on the porch. I'm coming in. Don't shoot me. I'd take it personally. The door opened. A woman in her 50s stepped through, rifle in hand, silver braid down her back, wearing a sheriff's jacket over body armor. Her eyes swept the destroyed cabin, landed on Jake. You look like hell, son. Jake started laughing. Couldn't help it. Hysteria, maybe. Relief, definitely. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Sheriff. Save the compliments. Where are the kids? Emma, Lucy. You can come down. Police are here. The vent cover moved. Emma's face appeared streaked with tears and dust. Is it really over? It's really over, sweetheart. Emma dropped down, then helped Lucy. Both girls ran to Jake, threw their arms around him. He held them, his own tears finally coming, no longer trying to be strong. Sheriff Kowalski spoke into her radio. Dispatch, we've got multiple suspects down. Need ambulances, crime scene techs, and about 6 deputies. Also need someone to track down a Sarah Mitchell. Witness reports she's somewhere in the vicinity, possibly injured. Jake's head snapped up. Sarah, they said she was bleeding out. I thought they were lying. Let's find out. Kowalski stepped back outside, raised her voice. Sarah Mitchell, if you can hear me, this is the sheriff. You're safe. Come on out. Silence. Snow falling. Wind in the pines. Then from somewhere past the tree line, my girls, are my girls okay? Mom! Emma screamed. Mom, we're here! Sarah stumbled out of the woods. She was covered in snow, limping badly but alive. So beautifully, impossibly alive. Emma and Lucy tore away from Jake and ran to their mother. The three of them collapsed into the snow, holding each other, sobbing. Sarah looked up at Jake over her daughters' heads, and he saw everything in her eyes. Gratitude, relief, something deeper he couldn't name. Thank you, she mouthed. Jake nodded. His legs finally gave out. He sat down hard on what was left of his couch. Kowalski appeared beside him with a medical kit. Let's see that arm. It's fine. I wasn't asking. She cut away his sleeve. The bullet had gouged a furrow across his bicep. Deep but clean. You're lucky. Another inch and you'd have nerve damage. Story of my life. Always lucky. Just never when it matters. Kowalski gave him a look. You held off 5 armed mercenaries with nothing but a hunting rifle and kept 2 children safe until help arrived. Seems like luck mattered tonight. 6, Jake corrected. There were 6 in the first wave. Only 5 came back. 6. Kowalski whistled low. Hell of a night, Sergeant Rivers. You know my rank. Ran your plates on the way here. Saw your record. Marine Corps. 2 tours Afghanistan. 1 Iraq. Purple Heart. Bronze Star. Honorable discharge. She wrapped his arm. Also saw the bankruptcy filing, the custody dispute, She trailed off. The restraining order my ex-wife filed because she was afraid I'd hurt myself or my kid. That. Jake looked at the table, at the gun and letter that had started this whole thing. Guess she was right to be afraid. But you didn't do it. You opened the door instead. Didn't have much choice. They were freezing. There's always a choice. You chose to help. Then you chose to fight. Then you chose to keep fighting when most men would have quit. Kowalski stood. Those are good choices. More vehicles arrived. Deputies, paramedics, crime scene techs. Someone brought blankets. Someone else brought coffee. The cabin became organized chaos. Sarah sat on the back of an ambulance while a paramedic checked her ankle. Emma and Lucy refused to leave her side. Jake watched from a distance, not wanting to intrude on their family moment. A young deputy approached him. "Sir Sheriff wants to know if you'll give a statement." "Yeah, sure." They sat at what was left of Jake's kitchen table. The deputy pulled out a notebook. "Let's start from the beginning. What time did Mrs. Mitchell arrive at your residence?" Jake told the story, all of it. Sarah showing up, the men following, the firefights, the phone call from Reeves, the offer of $5 million. The deputy's pen stopped moving. "He offered you $5 million to kill her." "Yep." "And you refused." "Yep." "Can I ask why?" Jake thought about it, really thought. "Because I've spent 2 years hating myself for making one wrong choice under pressure, for failing when people needed me. Tonight I got a chance to make a different choice, to not fail. To be the man I used to be before Kandahar broke me." He looked at Sarah, at Emma and Lucy. $5 million wouldn't have given me that. The deputy wrote for a long time, finally looked up. "Between you and me, sir, I think you made the right call." "Between you and me, deputy, so do I." Sarah appeared as the deputy left. She lowered herself carefully onto what was left of Jake's couch, wincing at her sprained ankle. "Girls are with the paramedics," she said. "Lucy's arm is fractured, but not badly. Emma's shocky, but handling it. They're both asking about you." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. None of us are fine. We're all traumatized and hurt, and we just watched people die." Sarah's voice was flat, exhausted. "But we're alive. Thanks to you. Thanks to Emma finding that radio. Thanks to Sheriff Kowalski showing up. Thanks to a lot of things that weren't me." "Jake." Sarah turned to face him. "Look at me." He did. Her eyes were red from crying. Her makeup smeared, her CEO polish completely gone. She'd never looked more real. "Victor Reeves offered you $5 million. That's more money than most people see in a lifetime. Enough to fix every problem you have, and you shot the phone instead." She took his hand. Her fingers were cold. "Why?" "Told the deputy. Made a different choice. Proved I could." That's the version for the police report. Tell me the real reason. Jake wanted to deflect, wanted to make a joke, wanted to do anything but be this honest, but Sarah had fought beside him, had trusted him with her daughters' lives, had seen him at his absolute worst and hadn't judged him. She deserved the truth. "Because when you knocked on my door, I had a gun in one hand and a suicide note in the other. I was done, finished, convinced the world was better off without me." His voice cracked. "Then you showed up. You and Emma and Lucy. 3 people who needed help, who needed me. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt like maybe I wasn't completely useless. Maybe I could still do something that mattered." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "So when Reeves offered me that money, I thought about what kind of man takes blood money to kill a woman who trusted him. What kind of father teaches his son that you can buy your way out of doing the right thing? What kind of Marine abandons people who need him because it's easier than fighting?" Jake squeezed her hand. "I thought about Marcus, my platoon leader, the guy I failed in Kandahar, and I thought about how he'd be ashamed if I took that deal, how Cody would be ashamed, how I'd be ashamed. So you shot the phone." "So I shot the phone." They sat in silence. The chaos of the crime scene continued around them, but felt distant, separate from this moment. Finally, Sarah spoke. "Victor Reeves is going to prison. Sheriff Kowalski says the FBI already has warrants. They've wanted him for years but could never make anything stick. Between his men attacking us, the recorded phone call, and my testimony about his attempted extortion, he's done." "Good. My company is safe. My daughters are safe. She paused. But I'm not stupid, Jake. Even with Reeves in prison, there could be others. Competitors, enemies, people who want what I have. And I realized something tonight. What's that? I've spent 10 years building a company, making money, climbing the corporate ladder, proving I could succeed in a man's world. And in all that time, I forgot the most important thing. She looked at Emma and Lucy in the ambulance. I forgot to make sure someone could protect them if I couldn't. Sarah. Let me finish. I have lawyers, accountants, security consultants, people whose job is to protect my assets, my intellectual property, my market share. But I don't have anyone whose job is to protect my family. Not really. And tonight, when we were running through the snow with nowhere to go, I realized how alone we were, how vulnerable. Jake didn't know where this was going, but felt the weight of it. You don't know me, Sarah continued. We met 4 hours ago under the worst possible circumstances. But in those 4 hours, you've shown me more loyalty, more courage, more genuine care for my daughter's well-being than their own father has shown in 4 years. She turned to face him fully. So I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Okay. When this is over, when the police are done and the FBI closes their case and life goes back to normal, I want to hire you. Jake blinked. Hire me. Head of personal security. For me and the girls. Not for the company, I have people for that. Just for us. Someone I can trust. Someone who proved tonight that he'd die before letting harm come to my daughters. She squeezed his hand. Someone who needs a reason to keep fighting. Sarah, I'm a mess. I'm broke. I was about to kill myself tonight. I know. And I'm not offering you this because I think you're perfect. I'm offering it because I think you're real. Because you've been to hell and you're still trying to climb out. Because my daughters need a protector who understands what real courage looks like. And it's not some security guard who's never been tested. It's you, broken and scared and fighting anyway. Jake felt tears on his face. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Say you'll talk to a therapist I'll pay for. Say you'll give yourself a chance to be the man I saw tonight. The man who opened the door, who chose right over easy, who turned down $5 million because it was the honorable thing to do. What about Cody, my son? Part of the job will be rebuilding your relationship with him. My lawyers will handle your custody case, no charge. We'll get you stable, get you healthy, get you your son back. Sarah's voice was fierce now. But you have to want it, Jake. You have to choose to live, not just exist, not just survive, really live. Jake looked at his destroyed cabin, at the guns and blood and broken furniture, at the letter on the table still sitting there, words he'd written that now felt like they belonged to a different person. Then he looked at Sarah, at Emma and Lucy, at Sheriff Kowalski coordinating with her deputies, at all these people who'd come together to stop something evil, to protect the innocent, to do what was right. He thought about Cody, about seeing his son again, about maybe being a father worth having. He thought about Marcus, about honoring his memory by living a life worth living. He thought about the gun he'd been holding 4 hours ago and the door he'd chosen to open instead of pulling the trigger. Okay, he said. Okay, I'll do it. Sarah smiled, really smiled. Yeah, but I want something in return. Name it. You let me teach Emma and Lucy self-defense, basic firearm safety, how to recognize danger, how to protect themselves. Jake's voice was firm. You can hire all the bodyguards you want, but the best protection is teaching them to be strong, to be smart, to not need rescuing. Sarah considered this. Deal. But they're also learning piano and French, and all the normal things 12 and 8-year-olds should learn. Deal. They shook on it. A job offer made in a destroyed cabin over the bodies of dead mercenaries. Not exactly corporate standard, But nothing about tonight had been standard. Sheriff Kowalski approached. "Mrs. Mitchell, FBI just called. They've got Victor Reeves in custody. Arrested him at his Denver penthouse about 20 minutes ago. Apparently he was packing a go bag when they kicked in the door." "How did they move so fast?" Sarah asked. "They've had warrants ready for months. Just needed probable cause. Tonight's assault gave them that." Kowalski smiled grimly. "He's going to spend the rest of his life in a federal prison." Sarah closed her eyes. "Thank God." "We'll need extensive statements from all of you. Probably several sessions over the next few weeks. This is going to be a complex prosecution." Kowalski looked at Jake. "You might want to get a lawyer. Self-defense is clear here, but with this many bodies, there's going to be paperwork." "I'll handle his legal representation," Sarah said immediately. "Best defense attorney's money can buy." "I don't need," Jake started. "You need," Sarah interrupted. "You just agreed to work for me. That means I take care of you. Starting now." Jake wanted to argue, but didn't have the energy. "Fine, thank you." A deputy called Kowalski away. Sarah and Jake sat in silence, watching the sun start to rise over the mountains. Pink and gold light streaming through the bullet holes in Jake's walls, turning the destruction into something almost beautiful. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we give our statements. Then we go to a hotel and sleep for about 15 hours. Then we start putting our lives back together." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. "Sound good?" "Sounds impossible." "Most good things are." Emma and Lucy appeared wrapped in blankets, faces clean, where the paramedics had washed away the dust and tears. They climbed onto the couch on either side of Jake, fitting themselves against him like they belonged there. "Are you going to be our bodyguard?" Emma asked. "Looks like it." "Cool. Can you teach me to shoot like you?" "Emma," Sarah said. "We talked about this." "What?" "He's really good at it. I want to learn." Lucy piped up. "Me too, but only the small guns. The big ones are too loud." Jake laughed. Actually laughed. These kids. After everything they'd been through, they were already thinking about next steps. Already planning. Already moving forward. Kids were resilient like that. Maybe adults could learn something from them. "Tell you what," Jake said. "You two focus on being kids for a while. Do your homework. Play with your friends. Be normal. Then, when you're a little older, I'll teach you everything you want to know about staying safe." "How much older?" Emma asked suspiciously. "Couple years." "That's forever." "That's nothing. Trust me." Sarah pulled her daughters close. "Mr. Jake is going to be around for a long time. You'll have plenty of opportunities to learn from him." "Promise?" Lucy asked, looking up at Jake with those big eyes. Jake felt his throat tighten. A promise. They were asking him to promise. To commit to being there. To not disappearing like their father had. To staying alive. 4 hours ago, he'd been writing a letter telling his son goodbye forever. Now he was promising 2 little girls he'd barely met that he'd be there for them. That he'd stay. That they mattered. It should have felt like pressure. Should have felt like too much too soon. Instead, it felt like purpose. "I promise," Jake said. "I'm not going anywhere." The deputies finished processing the scene. The ambulances took away the wounded and dead. The sun climbed higher. And through it all, Jake sat with Sarah and her daughters in the ruins of his cabin, drinking terrible coffee and telling stories to distract the girls from the trauma. Rebecca called. Somehow she'd heard news traveled fast in military communities. She was crying, saying she'd been wrong about him, saying she wanted to talk about Cody, saying things he'd wanted to hear for 2 years. "I need to come see you," she said. "We need to talk about everything, about Cody, about us." "No, us," Jake said gently. "That ship sailed, but Cody, yeah, let's talk about Cody. He misses you. He asks about you every day." Jake's heart clenched. "Tell him I miss him too. Tell him Dad's getting better. Tell him..." He looked at Emma and Lucy at Sarah. Tell him Dad found something worth fighting for." After he hung up, Sarah raised an eyebrow. Ex-wife. Ex-wife. She sounds like she wants you back. She wants the version of me that existed before Kandahar. That guy's gone. I'm someone different now. Better or worse? Jake thought about it. Different. Maybe better. Ask me in a year. The sun was fully up when they finally left the cabin. Jake took one last look at the destruction. His home, such as it was gone. Bullet holes. Blood. Broken furniture. The letter on the table, the one he'd written to Cody, still sitting there. He went back inside. Picked up the letter. Read it one last time. Then he tore it into pieces and dropped them in what was left of his fireplace. "Goodbye," he said to the cabin. To the man he'd been. To the failure and guilt and self-hatred. "Thanks for the memories. I'm done now." He walked out. Sarah was waiting by Sheriff Kowalski's car with the girls. Emma and Lucy were holding hands, leaning against their mother, exhausted but safe. They looked like family. Real family. The kind that stuck together through hell because that's what family did. Sarah held out her hand to Jake. "Ready?" He took her hand. "Ready." They drove away from the cabin as the sun climbed higher. Behind them, crime scene techs continued their work. Ahead of them, an uncertain future. A job Jake didn't entirely understand. A custody battle to win. Therapy to endure. Children to protect. A life to rebuild. But for the first time in 2 years, Jake Rivers felt like maybe he could do it. Maybe he could be the man these people needed him to be. Maybe opening that door had saved more than just Sarah and her daughters. Maybe it had saved him too. In the back seat, Lucy fell asleep against her sister. Emma watched the mountains pass, then looked at Jake in the front seat. "Mr. Jake," she said softly. "Thank you for not dying." Jake smiled. Felt tears in his eyes again. Happy tears this time. "Thank you for finding that radio, kiddo. We make a good team." "Yeah, we do." Sarah squeezed his hand. The sun warmed the car. Sheriff Kowalski hummed along to the radio, and Jake Rivers, who'd been prepared to die alone in a cabin 4 hours ago, realized he wasn't alone anymore. He had a job, a purpose, people who needed him, and maybe, just maybe, a future worth living for. It was enough. For now, it was more than enough. The hotel room smelled like industrial cleaner and fake lavender. Sarah had booked a suite at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, the kind of place that didn't ask questions when you showed up at 7 in the morning covered in blood and plaster dust, with 2 traumatized children and a Marine who looked like he'd fought a war. Jake stood in the doorway, uncomfortable. The carpet probably cost more than his truck. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was cream and gold and completely wrong for someone like him. "I can't stay here," he said. Sarah was helping Lucy out of her ruined coat. "Why not? Look at this place. Look at me. I don't belong here. You belong wherever I say you belong. You work for me now, remember?" Sarah's voice was firm, but not unkind. "Besides, the girls want you close. After tonight, they're going to have nightmares. We all are. Better if we stick together." Emma appeared from exploring the suite. "There's 3 bedrooms and a bathtub big enough to swim in. Mom, can we order room service? I'm starving." "We all are, baby. Order whatever you want." Sarah handed Emma the room service menu, then turned to Jake. "You. Shower. There's clothes in your room. I called ahead and had the concierge grab some things in your size." "How did you know my size?" "I'm a CEO. I'm good at details." She pushed him toward one of the bedrooms. "Go. Clean up. Then we're all eating breakfast together, and nobody's allowed to talk about what happened until we've had coffee." Jake wanted to argue, but couldn't think of a good reason. He went to the bedroom Sarah had indicated. found a king bed that looked like a cloud, a bathroom with marble everything, and on the bed new clothes, jeans, flannel shirt, boots, all his style, all his size. The shower was hot enough to hurt. Jake stood under the spray and watched 2 years of failure and 1 night of violence wash down the drain. The water turned pink from his wounded arm. He scrubbed until his skin was raw, trying to scrub away the feeling of killing men, of almost dying, of almost taking the easy way out. When he finally emerged, he felt almost human. The clothes fit perfectly. He checked his reflection in the mirror and barely recognized himself. Clean. Shaved with the razor someone had left out. Not quite the Marine he used to be, but not the drunk failure either. Something in between. He found the others in the suite's living room. Emma and Lucy were on the couch in hotel robes, hair wet from their own showers. Sarah sat in an armchair, also cleaned up her CEO armor, starting to reassemble itself even in casual clothes. Room service had arrived. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast, fruit. Enough food for 10 people. "Eat," Sarah ordered. "All of you, especially you, Jake. You look like you haven't had a real meal in weeks." She wasn't wrong. Jake couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten something that wasn't microwave dinner or straight from a bottle. He sat and filled his plate, suddenly ravenous. They ate in silence for a while. Lucy kept looking at Jake like she was afraid he'd disappear. Emma ate methodically, her 12-year-old brain probably trying to process everything. Sarah's hands shook slightly as she lifted her coffee cup. "Okay," Sarah finally said. "We need to talk. Ground rules going forward." "Do we have to?" Emma asked. "You said no talking about it until after coffee." "Not about that. About what happens next." Sarah set down her cup. "The FBI is going to want to interview all of us, multiple times. They're building a case against Victor Reeves and his organization. It's going to be stressful and invasive and difficult." "Will we have to testify?" Emma asked. "Maybe. Probably. But I'll make sure you have support. Counselors, lawyers, whatever you need." Sarah looked at Jake. "All of us will." Jake nodded. "Understood. Second thing, we're not going home for a while. Our house in Denver is a crime scene. Reeves had people watching it. The FBI needs to sweep it, make sure it's safe. So we're staying here for at least a week." "What about school?" Emma asked. "I've already arranged for your assignments to be sent to the hotel. You'll do schoolwork here, with tutors if you need them." Lucy perked up. "No school. This is the best day ever." "Lucy," Sarah said, but she was smiling. "Not the best day, but we're making the most of it." "What about me?" Jake asked. "I'm supposed to start this job, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to do." Sarah turned to him. "For now, heal. Rest. See the therapist I've already hired for you. First appointment is tomorrow at 2. I don't need. You absolutely need. You were suicidal 12 hours ago. You killed multiple people last night. You were wounded. You're suffering from PTSD and probably a dozen other things." Sarah's voice was gentle but unyielding. "I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying it because I care about you and because my daughters care about you. We need you healthy, really healthy, not just functional." Jake wanted to argue, wanted to say he could handle it himself, but he thought about the gun, about the letter, about how close he'd come to not being here at all. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll see the therapist." "Good. After that, we'll work on your living situation. You can't go back to that cabin. It's a crime scene and it's destroyed anyway. So I'm buying you an apartment near our house, close enough that you can respond quickly if we need you, but far enough that you have your own space." "Sarah, I can't let you." "You can and you will. It's part of your compensation package. Salary, housing, health insurance, legal support, therapy, everything." She pulled out her phone, showed him a document. "I had my lawyers draft a contract while you were showering. Read it. If you agree, sign it." Jake took the phone, scrolled through the contract. His eyes went wide at the salary figure. This is too much. It's market rate for executive protection. Actually, it's below market rate, but you're not trained in executive protection yet, so we'll reassess in 6 months. Sarah. Jake. She leaned forward. Let me help you, the same way you helped us. Please. Emma and Lucy were watching him with those big, hopeful eyes, waiting to see if he'd stay, if he'd accept, if he'd be the person they needed. Jake thought about refusing, about his pride, about how Marines were supposed to be self-sufficient and strong and never accept handouts. Then he thought about Cody, about getting his son back, about being a father worth having. He signed the contract. Sarah smiled. Welcome to the team, Mr. Rivers. Just Jake, please. Jake. She took back her phone. Now. Girls. Why don't you go watch TV in your room? Jake and I need to talk about adult things. Are you going to talk about the bad men? Lucy asked, her voice small. A little bit, but nothing you need to worry about. I'm worried anyway, Lucy said. What if they come back? Sarah pulled her youngest daughter onto her lap. They're not coming back, baby. The sheriff has them in jail. And even if they tried, Jake would protect us. Right. Jake. Right, Jake said firmly. Nobody's going to hurt you, I promise. Lucy studied his face. Whatever she saw there satisfied her. She nodded and went to join Emma in the bedroom. Once the girls were gone, Sarah's composure cracked slightly. She set down her coffee with shaking hands. I haven't processed any of this. I've been in CEO mode, taking care of everything, making sure everyone's okay. But I haven't stopped to think about the fact that men tried to kill my daughters last night. That I made decisions that put them in danger. You didn't put them in danger. Reeves did. I refused his offer. I could have played along, pretended to cooperate while I went to the FBI. Instead, I said no to his face and ran. Her voice broke. I put my pride ahead of their safety. You stood up to a criminal. That's not pride. That's courage. It's stupidity. I should have been smarter. Should have protected them better. Jake moved to sit beside her. Sarah, look at me. She did. Her eyes were red. You did everything right. You recognized the danger. You pulled your kids out of school. You ran. You found help. You fought when you had to. You survived. He took her hands. You're a good mother, the best I've seen. Your daughters are alive because of the choices you made. They're alive because you chose to help us. We saved each other. Remember? Sarah laughed through her tears. Yeah, we did. They sat together while Sarah cried. Jake didn't try to fix it or make it better. Just held her hands and let her feel what she needed to feel. Finally, she wiped her eyes. Sorry, I try not to fall apart in front of employees. I'm not an employee. I'm family now. You said so yourself. Sarah smiled. Yeah, you are. Jake's phone rang. Rebecca. He'd given her this hotel number. He stepped away to answer. Jake. Rebecca's voice was cautious. Did I wake you? No. We're up, having breakfast. Sarah and her daughters, the people I protected last night. Silence. Then, the news is calling you a hero, saying you fought off armed mercenaries to protect a CEO and her children. News is making it sound more dramatic than it was. Jake, they're showing pictures of your cabin. It looks like a war zone. Yeah, it kind of was. More silence. Jake could hear Cody in the background asking questions. Then Rebecca, again closer to tears than he'd heard her in years. I've been horrible to you. I filed for divorce. Took Cody away. Got a restraining order. I was so angry about your drinking and your nightmares and your inability to just get over what happened in Afghanistan. And last night, I realized that while I was being angry, you were dying inside. And I didn't help. I made it worse. Becca, you did what you had to do. I don't blame you. You should. I should have fought for you. Should have made sure you got help instead of just leaving. I wasn't ready for help then. Maybe I am now. Can Cody talk to you? Rebecca asked. He's been asking all morning. Yeah, put him on. Rustling. Then his son's voice. Dad? Jake's throat closed. He hadn't talked to Cody in 3 months. Hadn't been allowed to per the restraining order. Hey, buddy? Dad, Mom says you saved people. That you were a hero. I just did what needed doing. She says you fought bad guys. With guns. Real guns. Yeah, that happened. Are you okay? Did they hurt you? I'm fine, Cody, I promise. Mom's crying. She won't tell me why, but I think it's because she's happy you're okay. Are you guys getting back together? Kids, they had no filter. No, buddy. Your mom and I aren't getting back together. But we're going to talk about you visiting me more. Would you like that? Can I come now? Please, I want to see you. Jake looked at Sarah. She'd been listening, had heard everything. She nodded. Let me talk to your mom, okay? He took the phone back. Rebecca, can you bring him here to Colorado Springs just for a day? I need to see him, and he needs to see that I'm okay. Jake, I don't know if that's... Please, I'm begging. One day, a few hours even. I'll pay for the flight. Sarah will arrange everything. But I need my son to know I'm still his father. Rebecca was quiet for a long time. Okay. Give me the address. We'll fly out tomorrow. Relief flooded through Jake. Thank you, Becca. Don't thank me, just be the dad he remembers, the one before everything went wrong. I'll try. After he hung up, Sarah was already on her phone. I'm booking them first-class tickets. What's Rebecca's email? You don't have to. Yes, I do. That little boy needs his father. And you need him. She typed rapidly. Done. They'll have tickets in their inbox in 5 minutes. Anything else? Jake shook his head, overwhelmed. You're really good at this. At what? Taking care of people. I'm a mother. It's what we do. She smiled. Besides, you took care of us last night. This is me returning the favor. Emma appeared from the bedroom. Mom, Lucy's having a nightmare. She's crying. Sarah was up instantly, heading for the bedroom. Jake followed. Lucy was curled in the hotel bed, whimpering in her sleep. Sarah gathered her up, held her close. Shh, baby. You're safe. Mom's here. Lucy's eyes opened. The bad men were shooting. I couldn't find you. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. Is Jake here too? I'm here, Jake said from the doorway. Lucy looked at him. Promise you won't leave. I promise. Cross your heart. Jake came and sat on the edge of the bed, made an X over his heart. Cross my heart. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. That made Lucy smile. Good. Emma says you're going to teach us to fight. When you're older. I want to learn now. I want to be strong like you and Mom. You are strong, sweetheart. You survived last night. You helped your sister find the radio. You were brave and quiet when we needed you to be. That's real strength. But I was scared. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Lucy thought about this. Were you scared last night? Terrified. But you still fought. Because you and Emma and your mom needed me to. That's what you do for family. Are we family now? Jake looked at Sarah. She was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Hope, trust, something deeper. Yeah, Jake said. We're family now. Lucy smiled and closed her eyes. Sarah kept holding her, rocking slightly. Emma climbed onto the bed too, fitting herself against her mother's other side. A unit, complete. Jake stood to give them space, but Emma reached out and grabbed his hand. Stay, please. So he stayed. Sat on the edge of the bed while Sarah held her daughters, and they all pretended the world was safe again. His phone buzzed. A text from the therapist Sarah had hired. Confirmation of his appointment tomorrow. Information about PTSD treatment. A kind message about how seeking help was a sign of strength, not weakness. Jake stared at the message. Thought about actually going. About talking to someone about Marcus and Kandahar and the 2 years he'd spent drowning in guilt and alcohol. About opening up wounds he'd kept carefully buried. It scared him more than the firefight last night. But Emma was holding his hand. Lucy was falling back asleep, feeling safe. Sarah was trusting him with the most precious things in her life. He owed it to them to try. Owed it to himself. He texted back, "I'll be there." The rest of the day passed in a strange mixture of normal and surreal. They watched movies. Ordered more room service. Emma did some homework. Lucy colored in a book the hotel had provided. Sarah made business calls, her voice slipping into CEO mode as she dealt with company crises that couldn't wait. Jake mostly sat and watched. Tried to absorb what his life had become in the space of 12 hours. Tried to understand how he'd gone from holding a gun to his head to being part of this makeshift family. Around dinner time, Sheriff Kowalski called. "Just checking in. How are you all holding up?" "Alive," Jake said. "That's something." "FBI wants to interview everyone tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I know it's early, but they're moving fast on this. Reeves is already trying to make bail." "Will they give it to him?" "Not a chance. But his lawyers are good. This is going to be a fight." "We'll be ready." "I know you will. One more thing, Jake. The bodies from last night. We've identified 5 of them, all ex-military, all with records, mercenaries who've worked for Reeves before. The 6th one, the one who got away. We're still looking for him." Jake's blood ran cold. "One got away. The wounded one from your first engagement. He managed to crawl to one of the vehicles and drive off. Left a blood trail, but we lost it on the highway. So there's still someone out there who knows where we are. We don't think he'll try anything. He's wounded alone and knows we're looking for him. But I wanted you aware." Kowalski paused. "I've got a deputy watching your hotel. You're safe." After he hung up, Jake told Sarah about the missing mercenary. Her face went pale. "Should we move? Go somewhere else?" "Kowalski has someone watching us. And I'm here. We're as safe as we can be." "But he knows what we look like. He could come back with more men. He could—" "Sarah?" Jake took her shoulders. "Look at me. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you or the girls. Not him. Not Reeves's lawyers. Not anyone. You hired me to protect you. Let me do my job." She took a shaky breath. Okay. I trust you." That night, Jake tried to sleep in his luxurious hotel bed but couldn't. Every sound was a threat. Every shadow was an attacker. His arm throbbed where he'd been grazed. His mind replayed the firefight on loop. Around 2 a.m. he gave up and went to the living room. Found Sarah there, wrapped in a blanket, staring out the window at the city lights. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "Nope. Every time I close my eyes I see men with guns. I see Lucy getting grabbed. I see Emma trapped in that vent. I see you getting shot." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I see all the ways last night could have gone wrong. All the ways I could have lost my daughters." Jake sat beside her. "But you didn't. They're safe. We all are. For now. But what about tomorrow? Next week Reeves is in jail, but he has money. Connections. What if he gets out? What if he sends more people? Then I deal with them. You can't protect us forever. Watch me." Sarah turned to look at him. In the dim light from the city, her face was beautiful and exhausted and scared. "Why are you doing this? Really, you could have taken that job offer, said thank you, and moved on with your life. Why are you still here?" Jake thought carefully before answering. "Because last night when I was holding that gun and reading that letter, I'd convinced myself I was useless, that the world didn't need me, that my son would be better off without a failure for a father." He met her eyes. "Then you knocked. And you looked at me like I was someone worth trusting, like I could be something other than broken. And your daughters looked at me like I was a hero, even though I was drunk and suicidal, and the furthest thing from heroic. You are a hero. I'm not. But maybe I can become one. Maybe protecting you and Emma and Lucy is how I figure out how to be the person I used to be before Kandahar broke me. He took her hand. You asked me why I'm still here. That's why. Because being here makes me want to be better. Makes me want to fight. Makes me want to live. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm glad you opened the door. Me too. They sat together in the darkness, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole again. Outside, the city slept. Inside, two little girls dreamed in safety. And for the first time in 2 years, Jake Rivers felt like maybe he'd found where he belonged. Tomorrow would bring the FBI. Interviews. Difficult questions. The beginning of a long legal battle. Eventually, it would bring Cody, and that reunion would be its own kind of difficult. But tonight, in this moment, Jake was exactly where he needed to be. Protecting people who needed him. Being needed in return. Living instead of dying. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Morning came too soon. The FBI agents arrived at 8:30, 30 minutes early. Two men in dark suits who looked like they'd stepped out of a recruitment poster. Agent Morrison was older, gray at the temples, with kind eyes that had seen too much. Agent Chen was younger, sharper, taking notes on everything. Sarah sat across from them in the hotel suite's dining area, her CEO armor fully reassembled. Designer suit, perfect makeup. The only sign of last night's trauma was the slight tremor in her hands when she lifted her coffee cup. Mrs. Mitchell, thank you for meeting with us, Morrison began. I know this is difficult, but we need to understand exactly what happened with Victor Reeves. Start from the beginning. When did he first approach you about the merger? Sarah walked them through it. The initial meeting. The background check that came back too clean. The private investigator's findings. The attempted kidnapping at Emma's school. Running. The crash. Finding Jake's cabin. And Sergeant Rivers let you in immediately? Chen asked. He hesitated. Maybe 5 seconds. Then yes. Why do you think he helped you? Sarah glanced at Jake, who sat in the corner of the room watching. Because he's a good man. Because my daughters were freezing. Because that's what good people do. Morrison leaned forward. Mrs. Mitchell, we need to ask some difficult questions. About Sergeant Rivers. Jake tensed. Sarah noticed. What kind of questions? She asked carefully. He was suicidal last night. Correct. There was a gun and a letter. Yes. And yet within minutes of your arrival he was fighting trained mercenaries, killing multiple men, making tactical decisions. That's a significant psychological shift. What are you implying? Sarah's voice went cold. We're not implying anything. We're trying to understand. A man on the edge of suicide suddenly becomes a highly effective combatant. It's unusual. Jake stood. You want to know if I'm stable, if I snapped, if I went on some kind of rampage and Sarah's covering for me. Morrison met his eyes. Did you? No. I opened the door because someone was dying of hypothermia. I fought because armed men were trying to kidnap children. I killed because I had to. None of that changes the fact that 30 minutes before Sarah knocked, I was about to eat a bullet. Jake's voice was steady. You want my psych eval? I'm a mess. PTSD, survivor's guilt, depression, probably half a dozen other diagnoses. But I'm not crazy and I'm not dangerous. Not to innocent people. Chen made notes. Morrison studied Jake's face. You turned down $5 million to kill Mrs. Mitchell. Why? Because I'm done making the wrong choices. Done being the guy who fails when people need him. That's not a rational decision. That's emotional. You're damn right it's emotional. Everything worth doing is emotional. Jake stepped closer. You want rational rationally. I should have taken that money, paid off my debts, got my son back, lived comfortably for the rest of my life. But rationality doesn't help you sleep at night when you've murdered someone for money. Rationality doesn't make you the kind of father your kid deserves. Morrison nodded slowly. Fair enough. Mrs. Mitchell, did Sergeant Rivers at any point threaten you or your daughters? Never. He protected us, risked his life for us, continues to protect us even now. You've hired him. As what exactly? Personal security, for me and my daughters. Chen looked up from his notes. A man with PTSD and suicidal ideation is in charge of protecting your children. Sarah's eyes flashed. A man who proved last night that he would die before letting harm come to my children is in charge of protecting them. Yes, I trust him completely. With respect, Mrs. Mitchell trust isn't enough. What if he has an episode? What if his PTSD is triggered and he becomes dangerous? Then I'll deal with it. But I've seen Jake at his worst and his best. I know who he is. And I'm making this choice with full awareness of the risks. Sarah stood. Are we done here because my daughters are in the next room traumatized and scared, and I'd like to get back to them? Morrison stood as well. Just a few more questions. About Victor Reeves. Do you have any direct evidence of his criminal activities? Documents, recordings. Anything we can use in court. My private investigator compiled a full report. Bank records, shell corporations, communications with foreign agents. I'll have my lawyers send everything over. We'll need to depose you, possibly have you testify at trial. I'll do whatever's necessary to put him away. Chen spoke up. You should know that Reeves is claiming self-defense. Says his men were trying to conduct a legal eviction because Sergeant Rivers owed back taxes on his property. Says Rivers opened fire unprovoked. Jake barked a laugh. That's bullshit and you know it. We know it. But his lawyers are good. They're going to paint this as a property dispute gone wrong. You as an unstable veteran who overreacted. Let them try, Sarah said coldly. I'm a CEO with a spotless reputation and unlimited legal resources. He's a mercenary with ties to foreign intelligence. See who the jury believes. Morrison smiled slightly. I like you, Mrs. Mitchell. You're going to be a good witness. He handed her a card. Call me if you remember anything else, or if Reeves tries to contact you. After they left, Sarah collapsed onto the couch. That was horrible. They were just doing their job, Jake said. They were questioning whether I should let you near my children. Maybe they have a point. Sarah whirled on him. Don't you dare doubt yourself because some FBI agent asked uncomfortable questions. I know who you are. I've seen who you are, and I'm not changing my mind. Emma appeared from the bedroom. Are the FBI people gone? They're gone, baby. Good. They seemed mean. Emma climbed onto the couch next to her mother. When's Jake's son coming? Jake checked his watch. Their flight lands at noon. They should be here by 1. Are you nervous? Terrified. Why, he's your son. He loves you. I haven't seen him in 3 months. He was court-ordered to stay away from me because his mother thought I was dangerous. Emma considered this. But you're not dangerous. You're nice. I'm dangerous to bad people. That's the problem. Cody's mom was afraid I'd hurt him or myself. Would you hurt him? Never, myself? Jake paused. Last night I was going to, but I won't anymore, I promise. Lucy emerged, dragging her stuffed rabbit. Is Cody nice? The nicest kid you'll ever meet. Will he like us? He'll love you. At 12:45, Jake's phone rang. Rebecca. We're in the lobby. Jake's heart hammered. I'll come down. Jake, wait. Before you see him. He doesn't know about the suicide attempt, or the drinking, or how bad things got. I told him you were sick, that you needed space to get better. Please don't tell him the truth. Not yet. Let him have his dad back first. Okay. Okay, I won't tell him. Jake took the elevator down. His hands shook. His mouth was dry. He hadn't been this nervous since his first combat patrol. The elevator doors opened, and there in the lobby was his son. Cody had grown, taller, face less round, 10 years old, and already looking like a young man instead of a little boy. He wore a Broncos jersey and jeans, and his hair needed cutting, and he was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. "Dad?" Cody broke away from Rebecca and ran. Jake caught him, lifted him, held him close, breathed in the smell of his son's shampoo, and felt something inside his chest crack open. All the pain, all the guilt, all the reasons he'd been ready to die. None of it mattered, not compared to this. "I missed you so much, buddy," Jake managed. "I missed you too, Dad. Mom said you were sick, but you look okay. Are you better now?" "Getting there, every day a little better." Rebecca approached. She looked older too, tired, but she was smiling. "Hi, Jake." "Becca, thank you. For coming. For bringing him. I should have done it months ago." Her eyes were wet. "I'm sorry. For all of it. We'll talk later. Right now I just want to be with my son." They went back upstairs. Cody was nervous about meeting Sarah and the girls, but Emma and Lucy made it easy. They showed him the huge bathtub and the room service menu, and within 10 minutes they were all playing some complicated game involving Lucy's stuffed animals. Sarah pulled Jake aside. "He's wonderful. Looks just like you. Has his mother's brains, thank God. Rebecca seems nice." "She is. I didn't deserve her." "Maybe not. But you deserve a relationship with your son. And she's giving you that. That's generous." They watched the kids play, normal, easy, like the trauma of last night had never happened, like they were just 3 kids being kids. Rebecca joined them. "Sarah, I wanted to thank you for helping Jake, for giving him a job and a purpose. I tried for years to fix him, and I couldn't, but you did it in one night." "I didn't fix him," Sarah said. "He fixed himself. I just gave him a reason to." "Well, whatever you did, thank you. I have my ex-husband back. Cody has his father. That's worth more than I can say." The therapist appointment at 2 pulled Jake away from Cody, which hurt. But he'd made a promise. Dr. Patricia Carr was in her 60s, gray-haired, with the calm presence of someone who'd heard every story. Her office was warm, books everywhere, a couch that actually looked comfortable. "Sergeant Rivers, sit anywhere you'd like." Jake sat, felt awkward. "I've never done this before. Therapy." "That's okay. We'll figure it out together. Why don't you tell me why you're here?" "Because Sarah is paying you to fix me." Dr. Carr smiled. "I can't fix you. You're not broken. You're hurt. There's a difference. Feels pretty broken. Tell me about the gun and the letter. The night Sarah knocked on your door." So Jake told her. About Marcus and Kandahar. About the 3 minutes that cost 4 lives. About coming home and falling apart. About Rebecca leaving. About losing Cody. About the drinking and the nightmares and the terrible weight of knowing he'd failed when it mattered most. About standing in his cabin with a gun to his head ready to end it. About Sarah knocking. Dr. Carr listened without judgment. Took notes. Asked gentle questions. "You blame yourself for Marcus's death," she said when he finished. "I got him killed. You made a mistake under extreme pressure. In combat, where people die. I was the radio man. My job was to call in support. I panicked, gave wrong coordinates, wasted time. By the time I corrected it, Marcus and 3 others were dead. And you've been punishing yourself ever since. Shouldn't I? 4 men died because I screwed up. 4 men died because you were in a war zone where people die. Yes, you made a mistake. But Jake, you were 25 years old, being shot at, under immense stress. Your brain was in survival mode. You weren't thinking clearly. None of you were. That's what combat does." Marcus was thinking clearly. He died clearly. Marcus died. That's tragic. But it's not your fault. Not entirely. And carrying that guilt like a punishment doesn't honor his memory. It just destroys you. Jake felt tears on his face. I don't know how to let it go. You don't let it go. You learn to carry it differently, not as punishment, as remembrance. You live a life that honors Marcus, a life of service and courage and protecting others. That's how you heal. They talked for the full hour. When Jake left, he felt raw, exposed, but also lighter somehow. Like Dr. Carr had taken some of the weight he'd been carrying and shown him how to redistribute it. When he got back to the hotel suite, Cody ran to him. Dad, Emma taught me to play chess. I almost won. Almost, Emma protested. I destroyed you. Did not. Did too. They bickered good-naturedly. Lucy showed Jake a picture she'd drawn of all of them together. Jake and Sarah and the 3 kids holding hands under a rainbow. This is us, Lucy announced. Our new family. Rebecca saw the picture. Something flickered across her face. Pain, maybe. Or acceptance. It's beautiful, Lucy. That night, Rebecca and Cody stayed for dinner. Room service again. Pizza this time. The kids ate and laughed and told stories. Sarah and Rebecca talked carefully, feeling each other out, 2 mothers who loved the same broken man in very different ways. Jake watched it all and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Not happiness exactly. Too much trauma for that. But peace, gratitude, hope. After dinner, Rebecca pulled him aside. I've been thinking about the custody arrangement, about what's fair. Becca. Let me finish. I kept Cody from you because I was scared. Scared you'd hurt yourself in front of him. Scared you'd drink around him. Scared you'd be the unstable mess I'd been dealing with for 2 years. She took his hand. But I was wrong. You're not that person anymore. Or maybe you were never that person. Maybe you were just hurting and I didn't know how to help. Where are you going with this? I want to modify the custody order. Give you real visitation, every other weekend, holidays, summer vacation, like it should have been all along. Jake's throat tightened. Really? Really, Cody needs his father. And you need him. I was wrong to keep you apart. Thank you. God, Becca, thank you. She smiled sadly. I should have done it 2 years ago. But I was angry and scared, and I took it out on you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, too, for the drinking, for shutting you out, for not being the husband you deserved. We both made mistakes. But we made one thing right. She looked at Cody, laughing at something Emma said. He's a good kid. The best. Later, after Rebecca and Cody left for their own hotel, after Emma and Lucy went to bed, after the suite finally quieted, Jake and Sarah sat together in the living room. Your son is wonderful, Sarah said. Thanks, your daughters are pretty amazing too. They like you, really like you. Lucy keeps asking when you're moving into the apartment. Should be ready next week. Sarah's lawyers are fast. My lawyers are expensive, but worth it. She turned to face him. Can I ask you something personal? After everything we've been through, I think you've earned personal questions. Do you still love Rebecca? Jake thought carefully. I love who we were, who I was when I was with her. But that person's gone. The Marine who came back from Afghanistan isn't the same guy who left. And Rebecca fell in love with the before guy, not the after guy. Do you think you'll ever be the before guy again? No. But maybe I can be someone better. Someone who learned from his mistakes. Someone who knows what matters. And what matters? Jake looked at her. At this woman who'd stumbled into his life at the exact right moment. Who'd trusted him. Who'd given him a job and a purpose and a family. This, he said, right here. Protecting people who need protecting. Being someone kids can depend on. Making choices I can live with. He paused. You matter, Sarah. Emma and Lucy matter. Cody matters. Being the kind of man they can believe in matters. Sarah smiled, leaned her head on his shoulder like she had the night before. I'm glad I knocked on your door. Me too. 6 months later, the trial ended. Victor Reeves was convicted on 18 counts, including attempted kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, espionage, and half a dozen other charges. The judge gave him 40 years in federal prison. He'd be 87 before he was eligible for parole. Sarah testified for 3 days. Composed, clear, devastating. The jury loved her. Jake testified for 1 day, walked through the firefight step by step, explained why he'd turned down $5 million. The defense tried to paint him as unstable. His own lawyer produced testimony from Dr. Carr, from Rebecca, from Sheriff Kowalski, from Emma and Lucy, all saying the same thing. Jake Rivers was a good man, doing his best to heal from trauma while protecting innocent people. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Sarah gave a brief statement, thanking law enforcement and her legal team. Refused to take questions. Jake stood behind her, scanning faces in the crowd, watching for threats that never came. Emma and Lucy weren't there. They were at school, living normal lives again, doing homework, playing with friends, being kids. They still had nightmares sometimes, still got nervous around strangers. But they were healing. So was Jake. He saw Dr. Carr twice a week, had been sober for 6 months, had Cody every other weekend like clockwork, lived in a nice apartment near Sarah's house, did his job, protected his family, because that's what they were now. Family. Not by blood, but by choice. By trauma survived together. By trust earned and given freely. Sarah had tried to pay him extra after the trial. He'd refused. You pay me enough. More than enough. You saved our lives. You saved mine first. They'd argued about it for an hour before agreeing to disagree. Now, 6 months after that terrible night, Jake stood in Sarah's backyard watching Cody teach Lucy and Emma self-defense moves. Basic stuff. How to break a grip. Where to strike if someone grabs you. How to run smart. Sarah appeared beside him with 2 beers, handed him one. He's good with them. He's good with everyone. Gets that from his mother. You're good with them too. They trust you. Love you even. Jake took a drink. I love them back. All of you. This weird little family we built. Not so weird. Pretty weird. CEO, 2 daughters, broke Marine with PTSD, and a 10-year-old who visits on weekends. That's not exactly traditional. Traditional is overrated. Sarah clinked her beer against his. To our weird family. To our weird family. They drank, watched the kids play. The sun was setting over the mountains, painting everything gold and pink. Jake thought about that night 6 months ago. About the gun and the letter. About how close he'd come to never seeing this moment. To missing out on Cody's laugh and Emma's fierce intelligence, and Lucy's boundless sweetness, and Sarah's quiet strength. He thought about Marcus, about how his old platoon leader would be proud of the life Jake was building, the people he was protecting, the man he was becoming. You okay? Sarah asked. Yeah, just thinking. About how lucky I am, to be here, to have all of this. We're the lucky ones. You gave us our lives back. You gave me mine first. Sarah smiled, took his hand. They stood together watching their family, these people they'd chosen, and who'd chosen them back. Broken people healing together, building something new from the pieces of what they'd lost. It wasn't perfect. Jake still had bad days. Days when the nightmares were too much and the guilt felt crushing. Days when he had to call Dr. Carr for an emergency session or lean on Sarah harder than he wanted to. But those days were getting rarer, and between them were good days. Great days. Days like this one, full of laughter and family and purpose. Emma tackled Cody. Lucy piled on. They wrestled in the grass, giggling. Sarah called that dinner was ready. They all headed inside, muddy and happy. Jake followed them. His family. His purpose. His reason for opening that door 6 months ago instead of pulling the trigger. He'd been saved by a CEO and her 2 daughters. But the truth was deeper than that. They'd all saved each other, knocked on each other's doors at exactly the right moment. given each other reasons to keep fighting, to heal, to live. Inside the house was warm, smelled like Sarah's cooking, sounded like his son's laughter, and Emma's teasing, and Lucy's joy. Felt like home. Jake Rivers had been prepared to die 6 months ago, convinced he had nothing left to offer, no reason to stay. But he'd been wrong. So wrong. He had everything to offer, everything that mattered, and he was done wasting it.